Next point, I may also quickly touch upon the diet and agriculture. It may seem irrelevant to you guys watching, but I think it's very important, and it goes back to what I spoke about earlier. When the weather is warm and nice, there is plenty of agriculture and plenty of food. When there is plenty of food, civilization is thriving. And this is a very critical change that leads to really incredible developments in a culture. Hunter-gatherers before the Bronze Age spent the majority of their time trying to feed themselves. Hunting, gathering, duh, that's what they do. But when a society gets to the point that it becomes easier to source food and takes less time through things like farming, livestock, or hunting, or whatever, just preparing, preserving food, those types of things. When that happens, people of that culture have the time in the day to spend on things other than looking for food. When this happens in a culture, we start to see a technological advance, and we start to see things like art, music, philosophy, and just a flourishing, creative way. And this is exactly what the Bronze Age was. This was really the first development in that use of free time. What we also see is healthier, stronger, and smarter people when they are eating a good, balanced diet like that. From the archaeological finds in the Nordic Bronze Age, we see evidence of agriculture, including cultivation of wheat and millet and barley. We also find evidence of animal husbandry, livestock such as cattle, sheep, and pigs. But we also see that they still relied a lot on hunting and foraging. We have found traces of fish and shellfish and deer and elk and other wild animals, also wild herbs and seeds. So Bronze Age humans had, in my opinion, the perfect human diet, very well balanced. I know a lot of these modern dietitians today, these paleo diet or hunter-gatherer diet fanatics, they will argue that the hunter-gatherer diet, the Neolithic or Paleolithic style diet, is actually the best for humans. Yeah, I can see how that may be true, but there's just two very big problems. One, there are not enough resources in the world for 7 billion people to eat like hunter-gatherers, okay? But two, more importantly, like I said, we want to do other things other than hunt and forage all day, every day, okay? So farming and livestock makes it possible to free up some time during the day or free up some time in certain seasons so we can focus on other things. Today, I think we have gone way too far with this, with our factory farming, and the truth is, I think even in the Viking Age, they had gone a little bit too far, a little bit too much agriculture, and a little bit less reliant on wild, foraged, and hunted foods. But in the Bronze Age, they had a perfect balance of farm food, agriculture, and wild and hunted food in their diet. This brings us to the next point. Art and music. This ties into what I've been talking about. When humans can free up some time that they would have spent hunting and gathering food so they don't starve, when they free up the time and they don't have to do that all day, they start to create things. At the earliest stages, it's a caveman, at the end of the day, after he's tired, taking a couple minutes to draw up some crappy art on the wall like that. But at the most advanced stages of this, it's Elon Musk building a spaceship to Mars. This is the power of creation and what happens when a society gets some free time and they don't have to spend so much time sourcing food. And Bronze Age archaeological finds reflect that people actually did have quite a lot of time to create things like that. Look at this beautiful art. This is when I was at the Nationalmuseet in Denmark over the summer. The best museum on the Bronze Age in the world, in my opinion. And look how beautiful. Most of these items, again, are more beautiful and intricate than the archaeological finds and art we find in the Viking Age from more than 2,000 years later. In this museum, you can actually see the Bronze Age art And then the next few rooms over, Viking Age art, and the Bronze Age art 2,000 years before is actually way more beautiful and perfectly crafted. Many of these works of art were imported, a lot of them from Central and Southern Europe, but they were often crafted locally, and the craftsmanship of the Nordic Bronze Age people were of the highest standard in the world at that time. And it lasted that way for many hundreds or even thousands of years to come. Also, you can look at these rock carvings you see here. They are from the Bronze Age too. The west coast of Sweden especially is home to the most of them, around 1,500 of them. Rock engravings, which and more are being discovered every year actually. Okay, fair enough. These aren't exactly extremely well done works of art. It's not the Sistine Chapels, but it still took a lot of time to carve these symbols and pictures into the rocks, okay? It still took time in the day, same points I'm mentioning. You don't have time to sit around for hours and hours to do art unless life is pretty good and pretty relaxed. We also find things like helmets and armor and weapons, and many of them were believed to be for ceremonial use, especially the helmets like you see here. These were the OG Viking helmets. And then of course music. Many instruments out of things like bone or wood or other animal parts, those things would not have survived the ages, so we don't know all the instruments they have. But we have many preserved bronze lures just like the ones you see here, and the sound that comes from these is so beautiful and even spiritual. So we can definitely say that the people of the Nordic Bronze Age both created and appreciated the fine arts and had the time to do so. Now getting on to my second favorite point of this whole video,